sometimes trauma will bring things out in people that we contain it and block it and package it away. But sometimes when something happens, the things unravel and more things come out.
Welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I'm Dr. Dawn Earhart Whitty, your guide on a transformative journey of personal development and discussions of universal truths. Join me and a panel of life coaches and spiritual leaders from around the world discussing how to handle some of life's greatest challenges. We will be sharing stories of love, faith, and inspiration with you, our faithful listeners, to live your happiest and most fulfilling life, full of purpose and passion for yourself, your families, and the world. We are here to be the change we wish to see. Let the conversation begin. Hello, welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Whitty, and I have with me today Kiki Penn. And I don't know, where are you coming in from?
I'm here from Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, I've moved a little bit around the country, but right now I'm in Florida.
So Kiki and I met on social media with LinkedIn, and she was telling me she's a Reiki healer, and she got very involved with Lyme disease research and things like that because she has it. And she was telling me about the way she's doing alternative treatments for it, holistic things. And I love all things holistic. And so I really wanted to have her on and talk about her journey, how she got where she is, what led her down this road, what things she's learned. And then we'll just, like, as the conversation goes, I'll ask questions because I know I'm going to have a bunch. So Kiki, welcome. And
Thank you
please,
so
tell
much.
us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me here. So it's been a journey, let me just say. I like to call myself a Jill of all trades because I have literally done so many different types of jobs. One thing I'll say is that I've always been interested in the planet. I always feel like as a child, even I've had extrasensory ability. In what way, I can't really explain it. It's kind of intuitive, but not with direct messages per se. So I started with herbs. I started growing plants and taking care of plants and learning about the different herbs and things as a teenager. Um, I've got my first Reiki level 1 certification when I was 24 years old. Two people who are very key in my life that brought me to a place of being able to, the secret of being, let's say, is Louise Hay and Marianne Williamson. Those are the two women that have really inspired me, who have taught me how to look into really who I am and how I interact with others, what is my place in the world, and so on. But at 24, I did Reiki 1. I loved it. I was getting interested in all sorts of geology and rocks and crystals, herbs, and I believe that all of those are healing techniques. And now I believed that before, but now I know that now. Um, Lo and behold, I got pregnant and I had a daughter. I had to go and work in the corporate world. So I then took a job with Toll Brothers working in real estate. I did real estate for 25 years. Real quick, I'll back up just a second. As a child, I used to go visit my grandparents in North Carolina every summer. One summer, I was bitten by a tick in the Smoky Mountains, and things kind of went downhill from after that. At age 11, they put me in the hospital with what they said was hepatitis. I don't think it was that. I think it was tick-borne disease related. But I've been sick on and off my whole life, which is kind of why I've kept with these types of therapies. Doctors seem to kind of only want to address one thing at a time. You've come in and I have this, this, and this. Okay, well, what's bothering you the most? It's kind of like, well, all of it is. Um, so I kind of like went to the grind, working like everybody else, working 2 jobs, worked in a nursing home, worked in an animal hospital, sold real estate. I did mural painting, all sorts of stuff. But in 2012, I was getting sick all along, but it was like one thing at a time. My back would be hurting me, then that would kind of resolve. Then my gastrointestinal system would be reacting, then that was resolved. So things were coming and going all along. But in 2012, I crashed my bicycle when I was riding my bike one evening and went to the hospital, received a tetanus shot, and I think that opened the floodgates for what came next, which was literally knocking me down, like down. Um, I feel really weird about it. I feel good about it, and I'm happy that it happened to me, which might sound strange because it's such a horrific thing to deal with. But I feel like it was the only thing that stopped me from doing what I was doing, which was what I was not supposed to be doing. I feel like the Reiki and the herbs, I mean, I have chills right now just telling you this. Um, but I abandoned that a long time ago to go and work and pay bills and get ahead, and I got sick and I was forced to come back to it.
Mm.
So that's the kind of circle that I went on. It kind of started a long time ago and kind of things kept happening all along, and then it all hit at once. Um, that was devastating, financially, emotionally, physically. My relationship with my husband failed. He wanted another baby and stuff, and I knew I couldn't do that. Um, yeah, I have dogs instead. And he kept telling me that working at the animal hospital, I would always bring fosters home and whatnot. And he kept saying, if you bring another dog home, it's either the dog or me. So that's for all the dog lovers out there. Um, but yeah, it was rough. I went from earning six figures and having a really, really great 401k to having Fidelity send me a check for 1 penny. 1 penny. Like I lost everything. My homes, my cars, I filed bankruptcy. It took me 4 years to get on disability. All this time I'm trying to heal. I was literally in bed for 7 years. Um, my sister has Lyme too, believe it or not, but her manifestations are different than mine, and her healing methods are different. Yeah,
Look, I wanted to ask now, was that from the bicycle accident that you were in bed for 7 years, or was that the Lyme disease
that
that
was the
was
Lyme disease.
okay? Okay.
Yeah. The bicycle accident was not too bad. I just had a couple staples in my head, but
You just had a couple staples in
I
your head.
just had a couple staples. It's nothing, compared to Lyme, it really is nothing. Um, So yeah, it was hard. I went from being a working professional, having everything, traveling, going out with friends, having a normal life, to being in bed for 7 years and my mom taking care of me, um, and losing everything. And that's when I got desperate. So I was saying that my sister also has it, but she has a different form of healing than I do. She's kind of one that wants to stay in her zone and all is well. And I'm not going to say I have a disease because I don't want to manifest that further or keep that. But me, on the other hand, I kind of like dove into it. I'm like, okay, great. I have Lyme disease. Finally, I have a diagnosis. Yay. But I dove into advocacy. I started with a couple different groups. One is Global Lyme Alliance. They're very amazing. Avril Lavigne is a member, I believe, still with Global Lyme Alliance and the Lyme Foundation. The Center for Lyme Action is one group that I advocate with. And we are a 501c4 group, and we advocate for increased federal funding for Lyme disease. And I thought, the only way we're going to really get a handle on this, because it's been so long, it's been 50 years. People don't really realize it because more and more people are getting it now, kind of like AIDS. When you first heard about it, you didn't really maybe know anybody that had it, but the more it grew, you started knowing all kinds of people that had it. Um, so I dove in with that, and this is where I found the bee venom, believe it or not. So we rented an Airbnb. There was advocates from the West Coast and advocates from California, Oregon, myself, Washington. We stayed in a house together, and I told them, I said, listen, I will die on Capitol Hill fighting for Lyme disease, because it's got to, something's got to happen with this. So I met this woman there, and she said, honey, we've got to get some venom in you. I had like a little incident on the metro in Washington, D.C., where they were carrying me off the metro, she and another Lyme patient. And they wanted to call the ambulance, and they're no, no, don't do that, please. Don't need an ambulance because they don't know what to do for you. And my Lyme patients were like, no, we got it. Got me back to the Airbnb, and she told me, I'll never forget this. She says, honey, we've got to get some venom in you. I said, venom? Like, what are you talking about? And she said, bee venom. And from that point on, I tried it because, like I said, I'd already lost everything. I'd already spent all my money on all sorts of treatments. Um, and the bees are free. They're
And
outside.
and that worked for you.
And that's the only thing that really worked for me. I can't say only because maybe the little other things I was doing helped me along, but that
Mhm.
was the only thing that was like, wow, I'm back in the land of the living. Like, wow. And it took
Wow.
me a while to get there. The thing with Lyme disease is a lot of patients want uh, to feel better quickly. What they want a quick fix. I've been feeling so bad for so long. Why are you telling me it's going to be a long time for me to get well? Because you've been feeling bad for so long. You're not going to get better overnight. So my best advice to everybody is slow and steady. Slow and steady. So the bee venom took me about 14 months of doing it 3 times a week consistently before I started to feel different and being able to at least get up and go walk around the block. Um, there were hard days, you know. So many times I'm seeing living vicariously on social media through all of my friends who are traveling everywhere, and I'm here in my room watching the fan go around, looking out the window, seeing the trees blowing, knowing there's a whole world out there of stuff going on, but there's nothing going on right here. And that was hard. It's very isolating. A lot of people who don't have Lyme can't really understand really how it feels because it's so unbelievable. I saw this meme one time. It's kind of cute. And it says, if I was going, let's see, if I was going to make up being sick, I would choose something you would at least believe. You
Well,
know,
so
laughter. Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to ask because were your parents or grandparents, did they have any of the holistic beliefs? Were you raised around that, or was that something you kind of just gravitated towards yourself when you were younger?
Yep, literally gravitated it towards myself. Picked it all up. I was a typical American household eating Cheetos and this, that, and the other thing. And when I was about 15 and 16, I was looking into like macrobiotic living and all sorts of different types of diets and how to eat, raw vegetables, raw diet. And I worked in a health food store for a while as a cook, so I learned how to cook very, very good healthy food. Became a vegetarian for about 3 years. And I don't, I, some vegetarians will argue this, but I really believe this, that there's a different protein you get from meat than you do from plants and vegetables. It's just there's a different type of a protein, and I wasn't getting that. So I was kind of like not doing well with that diet.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the doctors told me, you know what? If you ever crave a burger, if you crave it, eat it. But otherwise, don't keep it as part of your diet unless you crave it every because that's your body literally telling you, I need this, I want this. So um, but yeah, that was um that was interesting, but I came upon it all. This is a little bit of mhm,
Oh, I was going to say, so you think you contracted Lyme disease when you were 11
mhm,
and
yeah.
then you were 24. So were you looking outside of the traditional medical system to find ways of healing? Is that what drew you to Reiki?
Well, I was not at first. I was like interested in alternative and holistic and all of that before, but after getting sick, um, like I said, it brought me full circle back around to then further dive into what had stopped years before. There was something I was going to tell you, and I can't, it slipped my mind.
It'll come back. It will come back. It always does.
Yep.
But I wanted to ask, can you explain a little bit? Because I know a little bit. I have an understanding because I have a lot of friends that do Reiki and things like that. But can you explain to people who may have never heard of it before, what is Reiki and how does that help people?
Yeah, so Reiki is actually an ancient Japanese healing. It involves working with people's energy, and everybody and everything is energy. So what we do, and some practitioners do it differently, and I do hands off. I don't touch the person, and then other people do hands on. But essentially, the way I prepare for a Reiki session is prayer, asking for the highest and best guidance and treating this person, asking for relief for that person and asking for them to be receptive. This is one of the big things when you're working on someone. If they're not really open to it, they will not be open.
Mhm.
They have to open up. Like I can put my hands on someone and feel when they're resisting the energy. Um, so it's just vibes, it's energy, I don't know, I can't explain it in, with detail without some of my notes here, but yeah, it was it's an ancient Japanese healing modality, working with the body of the energy, and it can release some old traumas. So not
Mhm.
only physically working with energy, but it's also an emotional thing and a physical thing. So it's using mind, body, and spirit all together and using symbols, Japanese symbols during that, depending on what you're doing, whether you're trying to distant heal someone at a distance, or if they're there in front of you. Um,
Do you have any stories of somebody that you've done an energy healing with
yeah.
that you're like, wow, this is really powerful?
Yes, I do actually. So there was this gentleman and his wife, they came to me and he was a big guy. He was big and burly and he rode a Harley Davidson, had the long ponytail in the back, and I'm sure you can kind of get an image of this man. He was quite big. So he came to me and has had been having problems with like anxiety and chest pain. And he said that he went to the cardiologist and got the stress tests and workup. Everything looked to be normal. So he didn't really know what's going on. So he sat down and I am with him. Within just a few minutes, I'm working with him. I did gravitate towards his chest. The man started crying, bawling, crying. We weren't saying anything. It was literally just the energetic exchange. But when he started crying, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I've tapped into something. Now let's go deeper and find out really what's going on. It actually, he in his mind during that session went back, and he told me this after the fact. He went back to a previous life. He accessed that, and he had been on in a chariot riding with the horses, and a pole went through his chest, and that's how he died. He was
Oh,
feeling the pain from that past life in the life now. And it came to him after a car accident, which was a trauma. Sometimes trauma will bring things out in people that we contain it and block it and package it away. But sometimes when something happens, the things unravel and more things come out. So this is what he told me afterwards. And from that point on, after the Reiki session, I mean, it lasted about 2 hours, which is pretty long. Usually, you can get a good session within a half hour or to an hour. But he called me afterwards, a couple weeks later, he didn't have any more chest pain, gone,
oh,
gone, gone,
wow.
gone. Yeah. But that was wild because I'm working on the man and I wasn't sure, like, should I stop? Like, what is happening? But then I was compelled to just keep going with it and going with it. And that's what he was doing. And that's why it took so long, because he was clearing that. So that was really interesting.
That is. So do you actively practice Reiki now?
No, I don't actively practice it. If I find a friend or somebody that's struggling or hear of somebody that's struggling, I will. Another interesting thing is, and this is something I've considered doing, is becoming a soul guide or a death doula. So we have doulas that are birthing doulas that help assist a baby coming into the world. We also have death doulas that help the soul to leave the world. So I was thinking, and I mentioned I worked in a nursing home. So
Mm,
during the 7 years I worked in the nursing home, I was with many, many people who were all alone in their last breaths. They didn't have family, they didn't really have friends coming to see them or anything. They literally had the nurses and nobody. And I worked in recreational therapy at that time, so I was really big on trying to support people with, things that make them happy and make them continue to go. Because otherwise they just lay in the bed and they just die. They have to be engaged. You have to have something meaningful in your life in order to live. So a couple times, there's this one gentleman who had COPD, and he was literally gasping for air, and he was having anxiety and gasping at the same time because he knew he was dying and he was afraid to die. So I would come in a few times and did Reiki on him, and it literally calmed him down to the point where he was, easily transitioning out. So in a sense, I've kind of helped guide a few people down that
mm,
road as well with Reiki.
oh,
It brings kind of a calming effect to them, and knowing they're not alone because it's a connection. Reiki's a connection,
yes.
you know.
Yeah, we all need the connection. I in my Secrets of Being workbook, at the end of it, I write like the top 10 common things that hospice nurses share with the people that they're working with. Like at the end of someone's days, there are like 10 things that almost every one of them says. And it's since it's everybody saying it, it's like, shouldn't that be the stuff we're thinking about while we're alive? Like the
Yes.
regrets and the love and those things. What are some of the things that you got to experience and hear people saying when they're in those last moments, last days?
Well, I lost my father at a pretty young age. He was 61.
My
Um,
dad was 63.
oh, it's too young,
Mhm.
and he wasn't ready to die. There's a very interesting story I have on that. That's probably a whole nother
Another
podcast subject.
podcast.
But I put it this way, I gotten reassurance that this isn't the only life, that this is not our only living moment in this body, right? Um, Time goes far beyond that. And your question, can you repeat it again for me?
Oh, I just what are some of the things that you heard people say that are good reminders of what we should really be focused on while we're here?
Well, some of the best advice that I got was being patient. Even when we get older, we lose patience even more because we're tired or we're um, over it. I guess somebody might just say, I'm over it, right? Just to have patience with things that you do, like stop and smell the roses. Because right now, and everybody, my friend sent me a picture from her Japan trip, and I'm looking at the photograph, and it's people that are standing in line waiting to get food at a counter. Every person had their phone like this.
Mm,
All the people in the picture, not one of them didn't. And they didn't, I mean, these people, some of the elderly people in the nursing home obviously didn't have social media in their lives. But some of the messages that they got, like be patient. And I noticed myself too, I really need to practice patience. And I think getting sick helped me to do that.
mm,
Um, because I had to be patient. And I
yeah.
still have to be patient now. Um, but that and just to and this is interesting because I took a class recently through Yale. It was called The Science of Well-Being. And one of the modules and the topics that we spoke about was savoring. When people think of savor, they think of food and how it tastes. But savoring, we can savor anything. We can savor moments. We can savor instances, even a small conversation. And one of the week of homework that we had to do for 1 week was we had to literally every day try to, everywhere, wherever we went, to hold the door for someone, to say hello to someone, simply smile at someone and see what happens. It's so amazing what happens when people interact. and not through social media, but through face to face. Let me shake your hand. Wow, that's a nice handshake, nice and firm handshake. Let me give you a hug, heart to heart. So maintaining connections, staying engaged. We have to stay engaged because when we don't is when we fall out, you know.
And you know what? It's really beautiful when I go to like the same shipping store all the time to ship my merchandise and things like that. And I always talk to the man who's behind the desk, and
Yeah.
we ask each other how we're doing, and we have lovely conversation. The guy at the store next to him, he hugs me when I come in. It's
Yeah.
just so beautiful to see that person across from you as another being, another soul that's valuable.
Yeah. And to appreciate their presence there with
Mhm.
you. And then they feel the same gratitude back, like,
Yes.
hey, I was having a really poopy day. I was going to say shitty, but was really having a bad day. But then that person was so nice to me and talked to me for a minute, and it just turned everything around. So
Yeah.
I
It's
think
really
staying
beautiful.
connected. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. And funny enough, and but this was not planned. I have my workbook sitting on my desk, open to those pages. And I did not know we were going to. So let me just read off. I'm not going to read the descriptions, but it's the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
The most important things in life aren't things, they're people. Forgive, be present, pursue your passion in life. It's never too, that just gave me chills. It's
Yeah.
never too late to make a difference in someone's life. Take care of your body. Be grateful for even the smallest things in life. Our pets can be our greatest companions. Live like today's your last day. Oh, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. I was on a Zoom call yesterday with Marianne Williamson, and one of the things that she said is to be the gatekeeper of all that is love and all that is joy.
That's beautiful.
Because we have a gate. We can either open the gate and say hello to someone, or we can stay behind our closed door. So we need to open it to all that's love and all that's joy, because me opening myself to someone else, or like you opening to the person at the mail center, may help him to then open to someone else. It's almost
Mhm.
like the World Wide Web, but just with connections. And I feel
It's
like social
karma.
media, huh?
It's karma. It's karma. What you put out comes back to you. And not in every instance, somebody could be having a really crappy day and you're kind to them and they're not. And I've experienced that a few times, but I still am always going to just be kind and silly and goofy and whatever, and make people feel seen and valued.
Being kind is a choice, and
Mhm.
we all have that choice, and we can all make that choice. We can't make the choice for someone else. So it,
Right.
it all starts like, I go to Unity Church. I don't know if you're familiar with Unity. It's Christian-based religion, but about how you live, like living principles.
Yes.
And one of the things that we say is, let it begin with me.
Yeah.
So we have to let anything begin with us. It has to start with us. We have to take that step. And another great quote I heard a long time ago, which stuck with me, is you have to show up to go up. So if you don't show up, you're not doing anything. You're not going,
Mhm.
even if it's
We're
showing
dropping
up
so
on a
many
phone
nuggets
call.
here.
Huh?
We were dropping so many nuggets. We're gonna have so many pull quotes from this.
Good. And laughter is the best medicine. It really is.
It
Um,
is. It
I
is. It's
try
a
to laugh a
lovely way to
lot,
live your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we love dogs too, because don't they, as much as they bring some madness,
Right?
mostly they just bring love and joy,
If we could all be like dogs.
right?
I I once thought about, and I'm sorry if I don't, I'll apologize in advance to any men that may be watching this. It has nothing to do with that. But I thought once about writing a book called Train Your Man Like You Train Your Dog. Because
I have a friend who wrote a book called Her Dog is Her Relationship Coach. Shout out to Maureen.
but it's like dogs, they respond to any sort of attention, whether it's negative attention or positive attention. And then you can always give the treats when, you kind of like a guy, he'll give you a little treat if you want.
Okay, I
Yeah.
don't want to get in trouble with my male viewers. So
No, we don't. That's why I said to apologize in advance.
no,
Nothing
but
to
we
be
don't mean
offended.
it in a bad way because we love our dogs. We
That's
love
right.
our dogs. So that
That's
actually is a
right.
compliment.
Right. Exactly.
Well,
We
Kiki,
love,
I know we could keep going on and on and on forever because you are fascinating. You've had so
thank
many
you.
experiences and you've turned something that was physically painful, emotionally, financially painful in your life into advocating for others and turning into like figuring out how to heal yourself. And I think that's beautiful. And sharing your
Yeah.
story is going to help somebody else, you know, that's
One of the
going through.
gifts of getting Lyme disease and really being knocked down onto the ground, the gift from that was a lot of knowledge that came after that, that I had to learn. And now I can literally share it with other people because every day on social media, I see people, I just got diagnosed with Lyme disease. What do I do now? And it's hard, because a lot of patients and doctors don't know what to do for it.
Mhm.
It takes a special kind of a doctor, functional or integrative medicine, typically to help that patient. So support is really important, and being there for each other. So I'm glad that I can do that and help others.
And whether it's Lyme disease or any other
Any,
kind of something that somebody's been diagnosed with, the fact that you can look at it as like, okay, this is what I'm going through. How do I make the lemonade out of this situation? And while
right.
you were going through the worst of it, the hardest of it, for those 7 years, were you able to see that light or are you able to see it in hindsight now?
I, and still sometimes I'm looking for the light still.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
I was able to see it once I started the bees. But that was after 7 years of laying there. I really thought I was like on my way out a couple times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought I
Wow.
was dying a couple times. And it was hard, And the other thing is a lot of Lyme patients and chronically ill people get dark in their head, they feel lonely and isolated and misunderstood or unheard. And all of
And
those
then couple
things,
that with pain, you
then
know?
coupling that with pain and not feeling well.
Yeah.
And then that the fact that this has been around 50 years and nothing's happened, but COVID came and we got jiffy on the spot, like tests and vaccines. And so there's a lot to it, but yeah, being able to be there for other people. And we have to have each other because, you know, things are better when we're together. So
Yeah, yeah, and
yeah,
showing up for people is such a beautiful thing.
yeah.
My friend that I just gave a shout out to, she's been going through some health problems for the last 6 months, and quite painful, and in and out of hospitals, rehabs, things like that. And I would check in on her just every couple of days. How are you feeling? What's going
Mhm.
on? And that meant a lot to her, and I didn't realize it. I thought I was annoying her with all my text messages, but she said that that meant so much that I cared.
A lot of people
To
disappear from your life.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
you're not the same person. You're not the one that can go listen to live music with them anymore. You lose a lot of people, but you gain a lot of friends in other areas. Other people who are like-minded, who are focusing on healing, and so you lose some, but you gain some.
yeah. You get the right ones. You gain the
Yeah,
ones that are meant to be in your life. So I
exactly.
don't think people will come in and out of our lives, but if they want to leave, then they weren't meant for you, or they were just meant for that season or those,
Yeah, for
that time.
that period of time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Kiki,
So
you are
thank you.
fascinating. Again, I could talk to you forever. You are definitely soul family. I can tell, especially dogs.
Yeah,
That automatically puts you on my soul family level. But
yeah.
can you tell people where they can reach you, connect with you, learn more about what
Sure.
you're doing? Because I think you have so much knowledge in the Lyme disease area that if that is something somebody's struggling with, you would be a great resource for
Yes,
them.
please reach out. I tried to keep it consistent for the most part on social media. It's Kiki_honeybee. So you can find me. I'm mostly on TikTok, a little bit on Instagram. I have Facebook. I have WhatsApp. I have all of that.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
Yes.
LinkedIn for sure. And that's a good place because you get to meet with different types of people. I've had even people not even talking to me about health, about other things, corporate, how to keep the morale in the office. how to keep people inspired and how to keep, the rapport going good with everybody together, working. It's like, that's more like organizational psychology. But yeah, Kiki underscore honeybee. And my email, you can do Kiki at kikihoneybee.com. I'm still
And
working on a web.
we'll
Huh?
put all of this in the show notes so people can
Sure.
click and find
Sure.
you. But thank you so
Yeah,
much for joining me today, and we will
it's my
be in touch.
pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And if your friend needs somebody to talk to, feel free to give her my number.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, I will.
Oh,
So
thank
thank
you
you,
so much.
Kiki. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Secrets of Being.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to the Secrets of Being podcast. We appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more inspiring content. For further inspiration, visit thesecretsofbeing.com and join our community. Until next time, stay inspired and keep unlocking the secrets of being.